Okay. Well, we're live, and I'm doing some warm-ups, sketching some ellipses.
Good morning.
Good morning. We got Creature this morning. If this is working
Woo
for
woo.
you, yeah, woo woo. If this is working for you, let us know in the chat. We'd love to hear from you. And then, of course, if you'd like to join us, the link can be found at reinventingthetattoo.com. Scroll down to the calendar, the bottom of the home page. There you'll find the link. Artists can beam in here. That'll bring you right here. So, right, just doing some warm-ups this morning, gang. So I went to another live drawing event yesterday morning.
Oh,
And it
how'd
was,
it go?
yeah, figures. Oh my God, look at that one. It was figure drawing and stuff. It was a lot of fun. But to get warmed up, I did my ellipses. Good morning, Spirit. Good morning, Brad. Got
Morning, Spirit. Morning, Brad.
Whoa.
Good morning.
Oh my God. Yeah. Well, okay. So maybe, all right. I think that the thing that I really want to emphasize, I'm doing these, I'm trying to get warmed up. I'm warming up some of them, if they're, a little bit of a larger ellipse, I'm warming up my shoulder. That's sort of the thought. If it's a smaller one, then I'm using more of the jurisdiction of my wrist and my finger dexterity, right? So whatever. But I think that the thing that I'm really trying to think about when I'm doing it, I don't want this, right? I don't want these like real sharp, pointy corners, right, for my ellipses. I want to try and make something that has a smooth, flowing curve. Right? Oh my God. Well, I hope that you're giving them a try as well, because they are really always, it's always a challenge. Oh my God. I don't know.
I catch myself practicing those
I'm using
before
my
I
non-dominant
draw.
hand. What's that?
Oh, so I've been following James since episode 1, and I have done so many ellipses. Now it's almost second nature. I go to draw, and I got ellipses like everywhere.
Yes.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
But now I just seem to do it without even thinking about it. I'll just be sitting there just doopy 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 doop.
Yeah, it is.
I love it.
It is insanity. That's true.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. There's this videos of a professor, like he's standing at his blackboard and he does like a perfect circle, like swinging his arm around. I don't know if you've ever seen that. We should get a clip of that. But like,
yep.
It's a pure mechanical, like sort of, just production, right? He does this ellipse or circle rather, and it's like just about damn near as perfect. All right, I'm like, these are terrible.
Now
you've been watching me do these for a while, but they're not getting any better. So I don't. This is probably like peak. This is my peak sort of ellipse drawing capacity. I hope I hope it gives you encouragement to not feel self-conscious about doing them. Well, I think that's roughly 50 of them or so. So that's generally what I like to go for. But why don't we can kick this, get rid of that, and bring up the group. Hey group, really great to see you. Welcome to Drawing for Tattooers. I'm your host, James. With me this morning, we've got Brad. What's up, Brad? Hey, we got Kyle Olson.
Hello.
Good to see you, Kyle. We've got Creature in the car. Spirit is around here somewhere.
The car.
We got Car Creature. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I just did some warm-ups. I don't want to forget. Again, I was saying I went to drawing yesterday morning before I went to the shop, and it was like, I don't know, I was so warmed up and so ready to tattoo all day, because I drew all morning. It was really fantastic. Drawing tattoos, of course, not to diminish that. I mean, it's what we do for a living. It's really important for the people. But making some art for yourself, or having a regular sort of drawing practice that you do, I think can be so enriching for your life, for your spirit. So anyway, somebody else there was stretching, and I was like, yeah, let's do this, so we're all stretching. So anyway, just do a quick one, right? So stretch, like what you're doing, you're pulling back, you are stretching out. I think these are the extensors that we're, right, we've got extensor muscles in our forearm, and that's what we're working on. We're trying to really extend these, right? So, and then push down. Again, so you're just stretching this out. You're trying to, make sure that you don't get injured. Can you get injured from drawing? Is it possible? Yes. Yes. Yeah, repeat is sort of like, just sort of strain and stress on all these muscles. You can get injured, right? You really can happen. So get warmed up and then do a little stretch. Just a few moments, I think it goes a long way. And so I was told earlier, one more I'm just going to put, and this one I'm sort of thinking about the pecs. I'm thinking about the shoulders, right? I'm pushing, this way. It's almost like a prayer or something. But yeah, I'm just sort of pressing. I'm really stretching out the pectoralis and the deltoids. These muscles here, they are, they work together to make motion possible. So anyway, hey, we've got a few people in the chat. Good morning to Jason Leeser. Great to see you. Atomic Injections, thank you so much for coming. Good morning to you. They are a regular viewers, so really great to have you. Tattoo Now, good morning. Yes, hand stretches. Yes, Tattoo Now, thank you so much. Who does them before every tattoo? This is a great question. I'm no bullshit. I'm really trying to do it every day. I really am. I'm, it's hard to adopt a new habit, right? And but I used to play sports, specifically play soccer all through high school and stuff. And what we would do every practice before every game, we would like run around and get warmed up, and then we would do stretches. So in the sports world, at least, it's the it's expected. It's very standard. You're gonna do make it a task. Yeah, I think that's having good reminders. That are you doing your stretches every day? Let's see, Brad, see your cat. Whatever it takes, right, to do that. You're prioritizing, yourself. I think in a really healthy way. So anyway, yeah, do some stretching. It's really good for you. Don't worry about what other people think. Everybody thinks it's silly or something like that. I don't see why they would, but anyway, do it. I like doing it here. It's sort of remodeling it for each other. Who knows? Maybe you start doing it around your shop, and everybody else starts saying, "Well, hey, their tattoos are looking good. Why don't I try stretching that?" Maybe that would help. Well, anyway, I want to say good morning to everybody. Open up the floor for some conversation for a few minutes, and then I've got a really awesome chapter of a book that I wanted to share, as we like to do here. But before we jump into that, I wanted to say hey, and also yes, they don't pay your doctor bill. Yes, thank you, Tattoo Now. So good. I haven't. Yeah. So anyway, let me get on with it. Spirit has just asked us a question. Has anybody seen the Andy Warhol docu-series? I don't think I have. It's on Netflix. Sounds interesting. Have to check it out. Has anybody that's on right now? Has anybody seen this Andy Warhol docu-series? No. Spirit says
I'm
it's so
pulling that
good.
stuff up right now, though.
Yeah, well, to check it out. Put it on the list. Spirit, I'd love for you to, you can come on chit chat about it for sure. There was a really extensive Andy Warhol retrospective that was at the Art Institute of Chicago. This was several years ago. Yeah, this was several years ago, and I went to it. It was fantastic. There was all this Andy Warhol art everywhere, and then I turned around and I made eye contact with one of the other one of the other museum goers, and I was like, oh my God, that's Chris Rock. That's actor comedian Chris Rock. And it was like all of a sudden he knew I'm found, right? He was just trying to enjoy the museum, right? And I'm like, I didn't scream, hey, that's Chris Rock. But as soon as I noticed him, everybody else noticed him, and he made a beeline out of there, and people were chasing him oh my God, that's Chris. Anyway, that's my Andy Warhol story. It was celebrity, right? There's all kinds of intersection with celebrity and stuff. So yeah, no, I'd love to talk about artists on this platform, because I think there's so much that we can gain from that conversation, especially if somebody that you really like. It's good to sort of tease that out. Why do you like them? Why don't you like them? That can be a sort of better question. So sorry, I think I cut everybody off. Brad, how are you doing this morning? Great to see you.
Doing great. Got the little one down for a nap, so I can join the call for now.
Cool. Yeah.
If I disappear, that means she woke up.
No problem.
But of course, the cat wants to interfere with the warm-up exercises here.
I was going to ask you, how's your final project going? We're all in the Reinventing subscribers group, for those of you who are joining us, and so with that, we end up getting all these different assignments that I think they're really helpful, and enriching. But Brad, you're working on your final project. How's it going? Are you getting some progress made?
I haven't made much progress. Got a few other projects that I'm working on.
Fair enough.
Unfortunately, not drawing related, but thankful for this group though, so I can put some time away to at least do some warm-up exercises and stuff.
Awesome.
Hopefully, a few sketches.
Well, I also I'm excited to see what you come up with. We have a week off from our subscribers group, right? So anyway, I think that if you subscribe to the Canon on Reinventing the Tattoo, you could also join our drawing group. Oh, let's see. Sorry about that. I had a glitch.
Yeah, wasn't there a Monday night exercise where they went over stretching and stuff too, different stretching techniques? I actually missed that one, but I've been meaning to go back and watch the replay. And there was a special guest that came on and went over stretching and physio stuff for wrists. Yeah,
no, I think the more information that we can have about that, the better. And it is it's complicated. Like you said, the a physiologist that can really help help you do the right ones and do them correctly is just as important. Probably doing anything at all is probably a little bit better than nothing. But again, you can always work on perfecting it. I know I saw a guy that was talking about doing push-ups and how you think it's so simple, but there's so much nuance to just that simple exercise that you can get a lot out of it. Same thing with the stretches, and same thing with the warming up and the practices and stuff. There's a lot that you can end up getting out of it. So yeah, that would be great to Sandy might know where to find the stretch replay. So so if you are in the Reinventing group, maybe ask you could email Sandy at management, or what we can do is we could have her maybe talk about it in our Monday night class. So
yeah, I'm sure she remembers.
I
think it was a technique chapter. So if
okay.
I'm searching, that will help narrow it down. But
excellent. Well, let's see. Yes, I but don't want to leave Kyle out. Kyle, how are you doing? How is it going?
That
What are you working on?
it's going great. I'm working on my Mayan chieftain dude. I haven't worked on the final yet. Since the night of. I might do that later tonight. I'm not sure. But yeah, things are going good. Just staying busy at work and staying busy doing personal projects and stuff like that, and in life, things are really good. Things I have zero complaints. So
Well,
yeah, things are good.
then you're not thinking about it hard enough. No, I'm kidding. I saw, Kyle, you put like a personal photograph of you doing a tattoo on Instagram, and everybody loves it. Everybody loves you. It's, it's funny. It's like, it's not one of your fantastic tattoos. It's just you. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it's like, oh God, everybody loves it. So I think it does kind of go to show, like kind of putting yourself, your personal,
Yeah.
like you, what like something that's authentic and, personal to you, how important that is to people. Because we all want to kind of show this side of ourselves, like, here's me, I'm this I'm like this artist that's amazing, and you know what I mean, I can do all this artwork that nobody else can do. But hey, you're a real dude. You know what I mean? You're a real person, and I think that's like, again, that can be just as important. So,
Yeah, it's kind of a bizarre concept, with the whole Instagram thing. To where it's like you're trying to build like a personal experience with somebody just through like your Instagram, account, your page. Like, so it's
right.
like, yeah, you can show tattoo after tattoo after tattoo and stuff like that, but like, I guess that only goes so far. And
Right.
people like to get to know you before they show up or get tattooed by you and stuff like that. So, I mean, like, we're on our phones constantly. I can only speak for myself. I have a problem. But yeah, it's such a wild concept of like trying to get to know somebody without them even knowing who the hell you are, type of thing. So yeah, I guess like I'm gonna try to put myself out there a little bit more and more compared to just tattoos after tattoo and stuff like that. Make it a little bit more personal, which I've always tried to like separate personal from business, but like if it's me, it's me. You know what I mean? Yeah, like I tattoo, but I also go grocery shopping, type of thing. I don't know what the heck I'm saying anymore, but you know what I mean.
No, that's exactly what I mean. You know what I mean? Just the this human side, right? Like the human condition, which is of course like, flaw and lack and imperfection. These are like, this is the human condition, right?
Yeah.
The everyday sort of like, you're rolling the boulder up the hill and it rolls back down at the end of the day. That's, we're doing that all the time.
Yeah, because
And
like,
so,
what else are we gonna do? Like those
what else would you
boulders are
do?
fun to push. Like, come on.
Right. Or it's sort of like, if we didn't have these obstacles, if we didn't have this sort of like a, tension and things to sort of like to struggle against, we would have nothing. You know what I mean?
No.
That's sort of where everything probably lies.
Yeah.
Drive.
Because like the whole situation of like lessons or failures are just lessons. And if we don't fuck up, we don't learn sometimes. Like sometimes we can read a book and everything goes great, but like sometimes like some people that are thick-headed, and need to go through the shit to get it, like understand the whole concept. Like like failures and like our human side of those things are like what makes us who we are.
Right.
It's necessary, because if we didn't have anything to like stress about or worry about, like we'd just be angry people all the time.
You're right, and I think there's something important there. It's almost, but it's like this recognition, sort of reconciling to this idea that like it doesn't matter what side you're on, what sort of stance you take. There's always something wrong with it, but you have to take one. You know what I mean? Like you still have to. You got to like sort of venture that guess and be incorrect. These are things that you have to do. Of course, it's like, but I think the error or or the problem could end up being like when you think that there's nothing wrong with, you know what I mean? There's no room for criticism, I suppose. Maybe that's another way to put it. So just like in our art making, there's always room for critique. Just like in the way that we think about something, there's always going to be there's something that you can find that is actually where it falls apart. But again, I think you do have to sort of, you do have to take a stance. You do have to, pick a side on something. I mean, you always do. There's some old saying about that, like if you choose not to decide, you still made this choice, right? That's sort of I don't know. That's silly, but at the same time, it's actually true. And so,
Yeah.
anyway, I think that's really important.
It is.
Kyle with the words of wisdom this morning. I love it.
Yeah.
I wanted to
the
share.
philosophical side.
Yeah, man. No, I mean that's like that's what we're doing. I mean that's what aesthetic is. We're talking about drawing and art.
Yeah.
Maybe there's something that's true in that, or art is this illusion, right? That tells the truth, which I like that bit too. But yeah, I think that's like getting down to whatever it is that's important to you. That matters. It really does. And sort of teasing that out again, like why would you like this or that? Why would you be interested in it? And those are the things that I think are that's where interesting stuff lives. So, well, I wanted to share this chapter with everybody, so everybody watching us, and then everybody here in the group. This is the promised. I think I'm in the wrong spot. Okay, watch out! Don't watch the screen. I'm scrolling. Okay. All right. So hopefully you can see my screen. I'm gonna try to zoom in a bit, so that way it's. Hold on. I want to try to zoom in so that way it looks a little bit bigger.
If I turn my video off.
Yeah, there. That's a little bit better, I hope. Okay. So this is Scott Robertson's How to Draw. It's a really awesome book. Let me see. I wanted to put up. I promised Gabe that I would do this. Rush. I don't know what that means. Yeah, Rush. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's exactly right. Tattoo Now. That's a Rush lyric. So
I was thinking that too.
I know that lyric.
I got Rush in my head.
I promised Gabe that I would put this up. So I made a QR code for you. You might be able to see it. How to Draw. This takes you right to a site where you can purchase this book. James Gurney actually talked about this book, this How to Draw book. Here's another QR code. I made a few. So
how cool is that?
Anyway, there's How to Draw by Scott Robertson and Thomas Bertling. James Gurney talked about this book. He says it's very helpful in learning how to draw in perspective. There's a lot of time and space in the book devoted to like using traditional materials, so markers and pencils, and then of course like different drafting implements that you could get into. I don't know if that's like something that you would end up taking into your like directly into your tattooing. I do think that it's really a good exercise for your brain, for you to end up like stretching your imagination, as it were. It might come in handy, I suppose. But again, like I was mentioning earlier, if you end up having like just this outside practice of whatever it is that you have this drawing that you do for your tattoos, right? But you have something else that you really find fascinating. I find perspective fascinating, right? So I think this book for me is very, I find it very helpful. Let me see. I'm gonna take, I'll take mine off. I'm gonna take this down for now, and I'll show it again when we get to the end. But I'm hoping that this will be big enough for you all to read along if you wish. So, right. Ellipses and rotation in the How to Draw book. So here you can see this photograph where the author has described a few ellipses and their perspective. Again, if we'll get into it, but ellipse is a circle seen in perspective. So there's a little bit of rotation here with these ellipses, so they're or circles rather, and then they're in perspective, so they look like an oval or an ellipse. So let's get into it. Right? Ellipses are simply circles in perspective, like we said. The accuracy of an ellipse can make or break a drawing, so this entire chapter is dedicated to learning how to draw them properly. Drawing ellipses is the basis for hinging flaps, rotating objects, and constructing spiral staircases. But best of all, drawing ellipses helps to generate excellent perspective grids based on perfect squares multiplied in any direction. The ability to place a freehand sketch ellipse on any minor axis is the primary skill needed before moving into this chapter. So there's more about that on chapter 1. Right. So ellipses, the basic terminology, ellipse anatomy. The minor axis is the most important line in the construction of circles in perspective. An ellipse has a minor axis and a major axis. The minor axis divides the ellipse in half across its narrowest dimension, and the major axis divides the ellipse in half across its longest dimension. And hopefully you can see this illustration over here on the right-hand side. The green line indicates the minor axis, and the red one indicates the major axis. We have talked about this before, but again, it's really helpful to sort of internalize it, so that way you can draw this enigmatic shape. I mean, it's very, we practice it every week. It's hard to draw, but learning how to sort of move it around in space, I think that's where there's a real power in that. And then being able to sketch it freely. So when let's say you're going to use your iPad and you're going to draw some ellipses, you might very well, use that mechanical function where it will draw a perfect one for you. But being able to sort of angle it just right, that can really make, like the author says, make or break this drawing. All right, so here's the advice that I think is, I think this is a key takeaway for the whole chapter. Ignore the major axis. Right, so major axis, again, this widest portion of the ellipse. Right, author says ignore that. It again, I would sort of just sort of note that it is perpendicular, right, at a right angle to the minor axis. Right, it has to be that way. That would be, it would be definitional, right? So major axis is perpendicular to the minor one. So they form 90-degree angles at all these sort of at this intersection. So anyway, ignore it. The minor axis always intersects the center of any foreshortened square. So drawn around it. The minor axis almost never intersects the center of a foreshortened square drawn around it. For this reason, the major axis is of no help when placing an ellipse into perspective and can be ignored. Okay, so what basically what we're saying here is that when you draw like a square in perspective, we can sort of see this, this second illustration right here. There's a plane, right? There's like a wall that's in perspective, and then they cut out a little square out of the middle of it. The minor axis, again, going back to some point on the horizon, on the eye level, we can see the red line here is the major axis, right? But it's not intersecting with the square, right? That has to occur, right? A circle fits into a square. Again, another definitional, axiom, if you like. So when we're drawing this, it has to fit inside of there. But we can note that it has a bit of an angle based on this minor axis relationship. So again, just very key to understanding it. And then of course, like sketching it many, many times is going to help to sort of make it more concrete. So when you get into a particular situation, you'll have this, this is a universal, and then you can make it particular, for your needs, as it were. So the minor axis is the key. The minor axis has another important perspective drawing feature. It always points to the vanishing point, that is perpendicular to the ellipse's surface being sketched. This makes the minor axis like the axle of a wheel. Yeah, very nice, very nice. And I think we can sort of see all of these, rotation of ellipses, they really do appear to be, rotating around this single point. It's funny, right? It's two-dimensional, of course. It is. I mean, we're looking at it on a screen. It's likely a drawing on paper somewhere, but there's this real feeling of rotation, right? Especially sort of around this given center point. And then again, all of these minor axes, right? The shortest span across these ellipses, they are, it's going to be perpendicular to the major one. We're ignoring it, but we're digging into the substance of it. There's the widest point across, right, of this ellipse, and it's perpendicular to this very shortest one. That gives us this illusion of like a proper ellipse. And so again, what's also fun is this casting of the shadows that's able to, you're able to get, again, with the perspective drawing, there's a lot you can do. Okay, ellipse degrees, right? The degree of an ellipse is the measure of angle of the line of sight into the surface of the ellipse. To better understand the degree, imagine looking straight ahead at a row of circles on the ground, with your line of sight parallel to the ground plane. The degrees of the ellipses as they move towards the horizon line will be less than those directly below your feet. At 0 degrees, ellipse would be on the horizon line. At 90 degrees, ellipse is a perfect circle directly below. The other degrees are found in between. Right, so this illustration on the right, what we can see, it's 2 illustrations in one, just so to hopefully it's like evident to you, but to try to explain it a little bit, we can see this lower half of the illustration on the right. There is a person and they're standing and they're looking forward. They're just looking out as far as they can look, right? Beneath their feet are a row of circles, right? Going on at infinity, going out as far as you can see. From a top view, like a bird's eye view, we can see this person up here. They're standing, and what you would see if you could, look directly beneath you, you would see this circle would look circular, right? But at the infinite point, at the at the horizon line, which is your eye level, at 0 degrees, it's a flat line, right? This circle would achieve flatness, and so going out from there, you can see that the ellipses are getting more truncated. They're squishing, getting shorter, and the minor axis is getting shorter and shorter, as it were. And so if there was this, the opposite, if it were, circles above your head, then it would be doing the same thing, sort of beginning here at eye level at the horizon line and then back up. It looks the same, right? Going forwards or backwards. It's the same principle, which is, I think, again, that's another sort of enigmatic, like aspect about perspective that, I think it's really perplexing, but also just something that you can internalize and help you know if you're looking up or looking down at something. Simple rule, but of course, like, again, I think it's very powerful for your drawing. Okay, placing a circle in perspective or drawing ellipses. Placing ellipses on surfaces with the knowledge that the minor axis is actually a 3D element of the ellipse. We are ready to place circles on surfaces in perspective. Remember that the minor axis is like the steering column to the ellipse's steering wheel. They are perpendicular to one another. The minor axis is always perpendicular to the surface on which the circle will be placed. That's emphasized by the author. Define a vertical surface upon which to draw the circle in perspective. Draw a line that is perpendicular to this surface. This line will be the minor axis of the ellipse. So again, what we're talking about, so we don't get to the end and we're kind of lost, we can see this wall shape. It's like a block and it's in perspective. Next, we've got this green line sort of, cutting through. what we're claiming, this is perpendicular. Why? Because of like a 2-point perspective system. There is a series of vanishing points, right? There's one that belongs to this wall, goes back to eye level. This green one goes back to the other vanishing point on the eye level. They're at right angles. When they intersect, they'll be at a right angle to each other. That's what is being said here. And again, this green line, as is, has been sort of consistent throughout, is the minor axis of our ellipse that we're drawing. So I think we're at number 3. I'll go with number 3. So point number 3, the side view of the circle on the surface shows the conditions that need to be met to find the correct degree of an ellipse. There is only one circle that will fit between these lines. Here are the conditions that the circle and the ellipse need to fulfill. The circle touches the left vertical line halfway. The circle touches the upper and lower line at points that are vertically aligned. The circle touches the closing vertical line at the halfway points, as well. Connecting the front and back points creates a parallel line to the upper and lower borders. All 3 lines share the same vanishing point. Okay, so anyway, let's try this. Draw a light ellipse and check and see if it meets all the conditions. Should it not meet all conditions, adjust the degree of the ellipse to become larger or smaller until the conditions are met. Then clean up the drawing with an ellipse guide. Same thing we were talking about. An ellipse guide, of course, is like, it's like a plastic template, and it has different ellipse shapes on it, sizes, and possibly like even again, like these different degrees of ellipse. You may use digital method like your Procreate app or something like that. It can automatically make an ellipse, which likely you are familiar with. But again, having the capacity to just kind of sketch it roughly, I think can help you. It helps go a long way, especially before committing to like these really perfect ones. So again, here is the author kind of going through and helping us understand. So we've got this degree too small. Always ensure that the minor axis is correct. This is the condition that must be met before checking the other requirements. The vertical midpoint is not met, and the touching points are not vertically aligned. The ellipse degree needs to be increased. Sketch a larger degree ellipse, right? So again, like you can see that it's like touching, the ellipse would touch here at this red dot, and then here at this other red dot. That's it's right there on the it's to the left, and it's too tight. It's just simply too tight, right? It's not. It doesn't look, for this space. It doesn't fit. It is an ellipse, but the degree of it's not. It's too small, right? It's just going to be too condensed. So here's the opposite problem over here. The widest point of the ellipse, right? It's not giving us the the condensed ellipse that we need. It's much too wide. Again, it's just sort of felt rather than sort of understood. Here's the one that's going to be the closest to, let's call it correct. But again, there's a logic to how this works, and this is a logic that people are familiar with. We see ellipses all the time. We see in perspective. So, when you're going to draw it, if you end up with an ellipse that is too narrow, let's say, or too wide, it's something that people will pick up on. You may be drawing something that has a bit of like distortion in it, and I think that's totally fine. But having a say in where the distortion is going to like emerge, let's say, that's going to be that would be nice if that were up to you. Like you're choosing to sort of bend these principles or not. So anyway, again, this ellipse all the way here on the right meets all of the conditions, right? So all the conditions are met. Closing the back with the vertical lines defines the back vertical halfway point. Connecting the 2 halfway points creates a line that points to the correct vanishing point. Take the ellipse guide and clean up the ellipse, right? So you sketch it and it feels right, you can make a very perfect example, and then it will again just increase the clarity of your drawing. All right, creating a cube using ellipses. Now that you have that you know how to place circles in perspective as an ellipse, it becomes possible to create cubes in perspective. This is very useful for creating both grids and controlling the proportions of objects in perspective. This technique assumes that you are proficient at drawing an ellipse and then drawing a perspective square around it. Practice over a grid until you are comfortable with the technique. Let's draw some cubes. Okay, again, we practice ellipses all the time. And I think it's, it's like it's preparing you for this moment, as it were, right? You want to be able to sketch them with a flowing line, right? Again, you may end up like coming back and cleaning it up with some mechanical method, but being, comfortable with doing it, what they look like, proficient, as they say, that's going to, I think that's going to help. So, all right, so here's just a little step-by-step. Again, you can come back to this video or buy the book and practice these exercises because they might be very they might be very interesting to you. So we're going to define the height and the front corner of a cube over a perspective grid. This establishes the minor axis vanishing points for the ellipse. Next, number 2, place the ellipse on either side, tangent to the corner. Make sure to use the correct minor axis while drawing each ellipse and then adjust the degree and size to meet all conditions. Ellipse guides don't always have the perfect size or degree, so some compensation for this might be required. 3, add vertical lines tangent to the ellipse to define the proportions of a cube. Add the top surface by following the perspective grid defined by the previous lines. All right, so just quick, some terminology. So, again, like if I don't know a word, I like to look it up. I think that's a good practice. But when we're talking about tangent here, what we mean is you can see these little dots where the ellipse is touching. That's what they mean by tangent. It's touching these edges. Sometimes in our designs, we end up with what we would call tangency. It's where two lines they touch each other. Some art teachers really hate this. They think that it's just a absolute no. Don't do it. I think that they're very important. They actually draw a lot of attention or form tension in a drawing. So if you're going to have a tangency, right? You're going to have one line sort of really touching another. Or here we see, there's this shape of this ellipse, the shape of that ellipse, this corner of this block. They're all touching at one point. So that's a tangency for sure. If you're going to have that, make sure that it's doing something for you, that it's actually doing something that's you want to draw attention to, hypothetically speaking. So I don't like to say that you can't ever do it. I just say use caution when doing it. It might be a good rule, in most instances to not do it. Don't have tangency in your design. But don't mean to go off on a tangent. Sorry, sorry for the tangent joke. Anyway, so offsetting ellipses. This is the part. Thanks, Spirit. Appreciate it. It was a good joke. So anyway, see you next time. So offsetting ellipses. Again, this is like how we think about like a tire in perspective. Seems simple enough, right? But of course, the actual technical sort of understanding of it can be a bit daunting. Maybe just doing it simply in a few simple sort of steps can help you understand it like at a deeper level. So when you go to do it, you can have a bit of, again, you can eyeball it, right? So offsetting ellipses. Offsetting ellipses to create more complex assemblies becomes a lot easier once the location of the ellipse's minor axis is known. So use an ellipse guide to modify the size of an ellipse while keeping the degree the same, as long as these smaller and larger ellipses are kept rather close together along the minor axis. When moving far along the minor axis into deeper perspective, remember to change the degree as well. Just redraw a defining perspective square to double check the degree, as was explained earlier. Okay, so what we have here is we have like this edge of this tire, right? And then it looks like the hub of the tire is sort of inset back. Again, it's much closer, this sort of center of the hub. It's much closer to this left edge than the right edge. It's a lot more space. And that gives us this illusion that it's actually inset inside of this shape of this tire. So again, you know, all of these portions of this hubcap or this wheel hub, as you can see it drawn, seems like the most basic thing. But of course, you know, as we're starting to uncover that it can be challenging, but a lot easier if we base this whole object, which is basically like a cylinder, if you think about it, right? This tire is a cylinder. We can see it over here as a cylinder on its side. Even this hub part is basically a cylinder or almost like a cone type of shape. So if you're thinking about just basic shapes to simplify things, which is our theme this month. We're doing a theme. It's like you know, basic shapes, and that's I'm hoping to come across here. Right. So when drawing cars, make sure to know which way the wheels are turned. If they're aligned straight ahead, the minor axis of the wheel will match the grid of the car body itself. However, if the wheels are turned, the correct minor axis relative to the car body must be found before drawing the ellipses. So again, I hope that makes sense, but like if the wheels and the car body itself, let's say, you know, they're all aligned with one another, then if you were drawing a big cube or a square in perspective, you would end up, you know, you could use that same, you know, thinking for the cylinder, which is this tire. Or if it's not, if they're turned slightly, again, you may have to draw another kind of blocky cube, and that would hold this, that would end up holding this cylinder seen in perspective. So, right. Now, this, for me, is, I think it's really elegant way to go about figuring where something would be in space. And I certainly, you know, I've used to use it much more often, you know, when drawing sort of concept art and sort of making environments and structures and stuff. And it might be something that could work for your designs. It could be a simple exercise that expands your imagination. Either way, I want to talk about it. Let's dig in, right? Once you have really, you know, kind of course, gone over the how to use ellipses, how to like make them do what you want, say what you want, if you will, then you can really start to move them around, and they can provide you with all sorts of information that would be very challenging to eyeball and have some accuracy. Again, I would mention last week we talked about the energetic line. There, the author said that accuracy does not make beauty, and I think that's true. However, having some degree of accuracy can increase the strength of your design, let's say. So there needs to be a balance where you're striking accuracy and, you know, some sort of truth that you're telling and some sort of aesthetic that you're trying to get across. This is probably where the most beauty will lie. So hopefully you had time to check out the illustrations that are here on this page. So let's see. Yes. Hanging and rotating flaps and doors, right? Hanging and rotating elements are possible once ellipses can be accurately sketched in perspective. These drawings are shown in raw form without cleanup, so the construction of the rotations is obvious. So the green lines are the minor axes, and they're the hinges in the drawing, and they are marked green, right? For each rotation, find the hinge and that turns this object. Ellipses are drawn upon these hinges to calculate the rotated dimensions of the flaps. So we can see all the way to the left, there is what we could imagine the cylinder, right? Just standing up end on end, it's a cylinder. The green one, of course, is what we're talking about, is the minor axis. It is the hinge. And then there is a series of, let's call them flaps, right? It looks like a revolving door almost. And so you can, I think you can imagine it. What it does is it gives you essentially a grid for you to be able to place something else. It can tell you where in space something is going to land. So you can see them all over this illustration, right? So the blue lines, right? These blue construction lines or grids, they can be rotated or redrawn by rotating as many points as needed to help redraw the rotated surfaces. This is a bit more difficult than just rotating the flaps of a box, but they're the same construction technique, relying on the use of accurately drawn ellipses. The red lines are the paths of actual points, and rotate in the drawings are marked in red. Right, that's this. You can see the ellipses, they're drawn. This is the path that something would travel, right? So along the green is the center, it's a minor axis, but it's the central, what does he call it? The hinge, right? They're the hinge, and the darker lines, the blue ones, quote, they're the plane, right? They're a plane that can rotate, and then along the red is this pathway. Again, I think it's pretty obvious. You can see it, but hopefully just sort of talking about it helps. So here is, again, a raw photo, just like the tire one, just like the looking glass we saw in the beginning, where we can see this perspective in action. And you can see that this, the nose cone of this bomber plane, it, from a central hinge, right, it rotates through space. Like, how would you draw this? Or in what way would this be applicable? What's coming to mind would be like a dragon's mouth, let's say hypothetically. If you wanted to draw like a dragon's opening its mouth so it can, be this amazing dragon design. Well, wouldn't this be useful, right? Being able to hinge the jaw in a certain way, right? Panther, I don't know. You could snake. There's all kinds of ways. We have to draw that shit all the time. You have to draw that all the time. You can just sort of guess at it, but like having a little bit of perspective to support your claim that this is how the mouth is opening, not to overthink it, not to bog you down, but as a tool to help you realize this ambition that you have. I want to draw a dragon with its mouth wide open. It's amazing, flying through the air. Okay. How are you going to go about it? How are you going to draw the other side of it? This is an approach that I think can be very useful. So, right. You could see a cylinder, right? There's a cylinder here that really corresponds to this hinge that this nose cone is based on. The movement of it is based on. And then there's a pathway that it would take, right? You can kind of see the path. Anyway, subdividing an ellipse. All right, we're getting pretty technical. So, and I don't want to we're dropping viewers fast over here. So if you're still with us, I want to say thank you for hanging in there. I'll just go over this quickly because, again, you have to work through all of those other stages in order for this part to really make sense. But again, it's in the chapter, so I just want to, make sure to give it a bit of due. So, subdividing ellipses. Being able to subdivide an ellipse will help with drawing things like spiral staircases, equally spaced links on a tank tread, hour positions on the face of a clock, or the teeth around a gear. Keep your pencil and precision sharp, and you get the best results. I don't know about you. I've definitely had to do like clocks and gears and stuff in tattoos, and it's like, what do I do? I guess I have to just find a reference and trace it, right? That's definitely going to be the most efficient thing, and it might very well give you the most accuracy. But if you needed to draw it, let's say, this sort of approach, this would help you get there, right? This sort of subdividing your ellipse. Dividing your circle is basically what it is, but in perspective. It would require all of that sort of positing, right? You'd have to say, this is where the eye level is. This is how this object, where it sits in space. So we'll just get into it here, right? Set up an ellipse in perspective, which is to be subdivided. Take the vertical height of the ellipse and extend it to the side. Close the lines with a half circle. Okay, again, I'm just sort of just setting things up here. Add subdivision lines starting at the center of the semicircle by using a protractor. In this example, the circle will be divided into 22.5-inch increments. Here, only a quarter circle is subdivided, but feel free to add more increments as needed. Okay. So, again, they're, just using the protractor. So a protractor gives you the degrees, right? So I think that's actually 22.5 degrees. I apologize for saying inches. 22.5 degrees. So from this center point, you put your protractor down, you use the protractor to plot those points. Boom, there you go. That's how you get in this illustration number 2. Over here on the right-hand side, you can see these points that are along the arc of the ellipse using a protractor, marking each degree. Okay, so draw horizontal parallel lines to the intersection points of the circle to the vertical line of the ellipse. At each of these points on the vertical line, tangent to the ellipse, extend the lines into perspective. Make sure that these lines converge to the proper vanishing point. So you can see this information is just transferred, right? So from those points that we saw up here in the second illustration over to the edge and then drawn into perspective. Okay. Mark the intersection points of the parallel lines of the ellipse. Connect the intersecting points of the ellipse through the center and continue to the lower half. So basically what they're talking about is being able to start with 1/4 and then project those points all the way around the ellipse in perspective. That's what they're, this is talking about. Okay, spiral staircase. We won't do this part. Again, if you want to do this exercise, you can check out the book. It is a maddeningly difficult exercise to try to draw a spiral staircase in perspective. It does take a lot of patience. You can see, crazy. It's crazy how to draw this thing. If you find it fun to do, maybe you find it even easy for you. I think that's admirable. Drawing one in your life can be, again, I don't see all the call in the world for it, but it is something that will expand your capacity and your imagination. Again, just in this chapter, shortcut to dividing ellipses, thinking about how you can make these tires and stuff. If you wanted to, treads on the tank, there's another exercise based on what we were just talking about, how you can subdivide your ellipse and come up with something pretty accurate. Yeah, plane on a slope surface. Again, it takes a lot to get this accurate. And again, there's a technical term in perspective drawing is eyeballing it. That's a part of it. You're going to eyeball stuff. But I can't encourage enough. I mean, that's cool, right? Drawing that plane is cool. And so you can find a reference drawing and trace it. You can build a 3D model and trace it. You can ask AI to draw it for you and trace it. I mean, you know what I mean? That's all. These are tools that you can use. But here's how to draw it in perspective on your own. If you find that sort of thing, valuable, I just wanted to share that with you. And so anyway, I think with that we'll call this chapter done. So anyway, everybody that was able to hang out and watch, it really was It really was great. Oh, Creature,
My-
there you are.
Hey.
I've been here. Hi.
Hi.
Yeah.
That was a lot of perspective. I realize I suck. I drew a whole bunch. Wow, you made ovals really hard.
Good. That's good. It's supposed to be. Well, that's the
Thank
thing.
you.
We do them real simply all the time. So that way, you know, it's like there's so much more to it. You know what I mean? It's like there's so much to it. It's like it's the basis of mathematics and the basis, I mean, really, it's where philosophy started too, is this idea about like circles and squares and stuff. You know, I mean? They're enigmatic. They're these incredibly like basic things that are like they're. I'm not going to say it's more of a. It's more of about wideness, right? Like this, where they span is this wide sort of like terrain. They're everywhere. You know, they're very. It could be almost like there's a, you know, the shallowness of it is there, but then they spread everywhere. There's this. You're going to find it all over the place, always relating to one another in some way. That's what I'm talking about. I hope that the whole notion about like opening, like how to draw a dragon's mouth and stuff, I hope that was like helpful.
Yeah, that was cool.
Why would you use it? And it's like, well, you know, even if you're stylizing something, making like a very traditional thing or a neo-traditional thing or your own interpretation, that might be something that you could, you know, finding a hinge and being able to move something along a path. Very useful, very useful knowledge to have. So, but yeah, no.
See, I love this Monday show because every time I find something that I'm being challenged on, I'll go back into the office and I'll just be doing so and so all week.
Good.
It's great.
Yeah,
I love it.
Well, me too. Me too. I think.
I would like to ask a question of Mr. Kyle.
What is up?
I loved your neo-traditional piece that you posted. Can you it was Lady's Face. You did the black work
owl,
on it.
The owl.
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah.
That was very, very cool.
Yeah, that's just the beginning of it. I have an appointment with her, I believe, next week, so I get to work on it some more. Super excited about it.
How long do you have a client wait before sessions to go back into something?
I usually wait at least like 2.5 weeks, just because I want it to be healed up fairly well. Because like it does take some time for all the ink and the epidermis to be completely out. Sometimes it can take longer than like a month, but usually just about 3 weeks, which it takes care of like the secondary phase to where that shininess goes away. Like you get a really, really good idea of what's going to be there, if anything fell out, how everything's looking. You know, you don't have to wait like the full 2 months. You can if you want, but usually about 3 weeks in between, just to make sure that everything's fully healed and I'm not overworking any areas. If like anything's still healing and I go to hit it again, I'm just causing trauma. I'm not applying any ink into that situation. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good to know. I normally I do the standard 2-month thing.
Oh, I gotcha. Yeah.
Make people wait.
Yeah.
But, oh yeah, it was great. What liners did you use? Because you know you have the nice difference between the gauge of the lines.
Most likely, I think I had an 11 round shader, and I think for the thinners, I think I used a 12 liner, and then just kind of bounce back and forth. If I needed to build something up in between, I would just use the 7 liner, and if I needed anything bigger than the 11 round shader, I just build it up from there. So
nice.
Yeah,
it was really choice, man.
Thank you.
It was cool.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
I think that's a really good. That's a great point, and that's something Guy Atchison talks about it in Reinventing the Tattoo. Like his approach to building up lines, it's very similar to what Kyle was suggesting. But I mean, he uses really small groupings and really builds them up. But you know, like everybody's got their own way. Like I don't always use that small grouping and build up, you know, all the time. I think it's again, you're gonna find what really works for you, but being comfortable with, you know, either doing a single pass, which I think is important to learn as a tattooer, right? Being able to do a single pass line and have it be like clean and consistent, really crucial to learn. The other thing would be comfortable with being able to build them up, either, multiple passes or like, doing some sort of like, like you're coloring in like an area, but with the liner. There's a lot of different ways to go about it, I think, but yeah, thank you, Kyle, for sharing that. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Anytime you have questions, I might not know the answer, but I'll help you find it. So
Awesome. Well,
Love
this was been a really fun experience for me getting to share this again. The book, I'm gonna flash it if you are still here. You want to find this book, How to Draw by Scott Robertson and Thomas Bertling. It is it's a great perspective book, and again, like there's all sorts of information about traditional media as well in it. So I can't recommend it enough. Add it to your library along with the other books. I would suggest Perspective Made Easy by Ernest Norling. Again, I've showed that book several occasions. But also moving on to this would be like the next level, probably. Do the Perspective Made Easy one, and then drawing How to Draw. It's really how to draw anything: sketching, drawing, objects, environments. That's the subheading of the book. But it's if you want to create like your own original characters or your own sort of spaces and stuff, going in and getting some information about that, I think can be really useful. And so that's there's the QR code, and of course that takes you to a site where you can purchase this book if you wish. So yeah, I want to go ahead and close it out for the day. It's been so great being with all of you. And if you are still with us, make sure that you like and subscribe, so that way, it helps the algorithm, right? And then of course, tune in next week. We try to do this every week, where we, we'll draw a little bit, talk a little bit, share. And so again, let me throw it over to our panel that we have here. Creature, give us sign off. Where can we find you? When is the shop opening up?
I'm very excited. So the plumbing permits and all the plumbing, that's done. They're starting painting today. That should be done in say 3 to 4 days. Tiling next week. So we're hoping to have the soft open in maybe 2 weeks.
Excellent.
Give or take. The grand opening will be the 2nd, which will be a Saturday, all day, starting at noon, live music, blah, blah, blah.
Nice.
Creatures Cave everywhere. We're here to help.
Cool. Creatures.
Check us out.
Thank you, Creature. Appreciate you being here. Kyle, give us your sign off.
My name is Kyle Olson. I tattoo out of Tucson, Arizona. If you need to get a hold of me, you can reach out on Instagram at Olson_tattoos, OLSON. And then you can also get a hold of me at trinityartcollective.com. More than happy to talk to anybody about any project. And then, just building the framework on anything is super important. Just like you got to make the blueprint before you build the building. So with like the ellipses, everything like that, anything you draw, like having some type of framework to build off of helps out immensely. But thank you for the show, James. Appreciate it. Thank you,
James.
It's always fun.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. Let's see here. And I appreciate everybody that hung in there for that. And that I hope it wasn't like discouraging. That more of like thinking these thoughts that they're tough to think. They really are. They're tough to think. And then again, somehow working through it, it's like an exercise for your drawing, right? For your, for your mind. So thank you for hanging.
You just have to dumb it down. See, I wear pigtails.
No, I don't believe in dumbing it down. I think that we gotta reach. Yeah, you gotta stretch and reach. It's something. If you don't comprehend it, then keep working at it. I think that's the sign. You know
Watch
what
the
I mean?
video again.
And if you think you comprehend it, you might want to keep going anyway, you know, because there might be more to it than you realize. I think that would be my takeaway from it, is like, again, seeing this expert sort of presentation about how to think this very, very basic thing. There's so much to it. What else don't I know? So maybe that's really where we're kind of getting at, is like, that's when you really start to understand that, you know, when you can know your limit. Oh, I've reached my limit of what I can possibly grasp. That might be a good place to start. So anyway, I want to say thanks to everybody for being here. Everybody in the chat, everybody watching us on social medias. I want to say thanks to Gabe. Thank you, Gabe, for everything you're doing behind the scenes. It's a lot of work. And so
Thanks, Gabe.
thanks, Gabe. He's kicking off, you know, the restart of the Tattoo Now show. Can't wait. Tattoo Now or Tattoo Weekly. He had so many shows going on. Yeah, Gabe's going to be back with the show. Fawn Baker and Gabe, they are going to be back on Reinventing Network really soon. Again, we've got Jason Leeser coming up at 12 p.m. Eastern time with his Skill Building Mondays. Can't wait for that. Yeah, there's no subscribers group tonight, so get the day off, get the week off. If you're in the subscribers group, that's usually Mondays at 9 p.m. Eastern. Want to say thanks to Guy Etchison for being the founder and inspiration behind Reinventing. Thank you, Guy. Really appreciate this platform. I feel like there's a real sense of community that we're able to have here. But get out there, everybody. Find a drawing group that you can participate in, and draw with your coworkers, draw with your loved ones, draw with your hated enemies. You know, why not?
Just
draw with everybody, right? You should be drawing all the time, but don't feel bad if you don't. just know, like, you know, we're not perfect, right? You're not going to be able to meet all of these expectations, but I hope that you at least enjoy this symptom of drawing, right? Enjoy it, right? Happy drawing. We're going to see you next stream. All right.
Definitely.
Peace out.